Guys, this is a Evergo Emperor. Evergo actually called them the Roma. We call them the Emperor because that's what SMC called them, and that was the first one that we actually knew the model name of. Moss called them the Marco Polo. Some other brand, I can't remember which, called them the Marco Island, etc. There are a lot of different variations on this design. I have often wondered who came up with this design first and what it's copying. You know, it seems to be inspired by something antique, but what? This is one of the most unusual Emperor designs, mainly because of the blade tips. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but you can see that blade tip shape is unique. No other fan used that. And I've been looking for one of these for quite some time. This variation is even odder than I'm used to because it has a 3-speed knob. I'm used to these having either a 3-speed pull chain or a variable speed knob. This one has a 3-speed knob. Never seen that before in an Evergo. Or at least not an Evergo Emperor. Downrod and canopy are not original. The canopy to this is also a very unique design. I have it, but I don't have it with me. It's being mailed to me. This fan is going in the museum, and I didn't have time to get everything together the way I'd like before I leave for the museum. So that's not ideal, but it's what it is. You'll see it in pictures and possibly in a video in the museum. What it looks like with the actual original canopy and mount and downrod and everything. So there's that. Other thing is, we did test this before I did the video. Sometimes I test fans and then do a video. Sometimes I test them for the first time on the video. And it really seems like the capacitor is bad because it's much slower and drawing much less current than it should. I didn't test the current on it last night. You may have seen my video last night of oiling it and replacing the bad reverse switch, and needed a lot of work, doing all the other work it needed. I didn't bother to test the current, and I guess I should have. I just assumed since it seemed to be spinning and giving enough torque that it was fine. But we'll take a look at it and you can offer your opinion. I don't have my capacitor tester or any of my spare capacitors with me, unfortunately. So this will just be the video as to what it is. And later on tonight I'll take it down to my shop and I'll test the capacitor and replace it if necessary. Unfortunately, well, you know what I could do? I could hang it at the shop and make a video there. So it's not the end of the world, I guess. If we get a chance, we'll do a video at the shop with a replaced capacitor. If it tests bad, maybe it's just designed to be a slower fan. It still moves plenty of air, and we're about to see that. Other thing that's interesting about it, there is no pull chain for the light, and there is no evidence there ever was one. Here's a hole one could be mounted, but the socket doesn't have a pull chain, and it doesn't look like anything was ever in that hole. So when we power it on, my lovely assistant Andy will power it on. The light is just on. And so for our current draw, we have to deduct the current draw of the light bulb, which you can see is 0.12. Oh, almost forgot. That's why I had this out here. This is another canopy that would have gone to this fan. There are versions of this that had a 1/2-inch downrod instead of 3/4. And this was the 1/2-inch downrod version, and this would have been the canopy that it used. It's a 3/4 version, so it uses a much larger and different canopy. But I got it out. I was thinking of rigging it to use the 1/2-inch downrod and realized that this was probably better for the sake of right now. But, yeah, I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so let's check it out. Let's see, let's turn the variable speed knob to low. Interestingly enough, Evergo tells you each time the fan is started, the speed control must be returned to the highest position. We're not going to do that. We're rule breakers around here. We live on the edge. So let's turn it to low. Wait. Huh. I guess that's why. This is the reverse switch? Yeah. Yeah, that's a new reverse switch, so I guess it was a little wonky. Yep.
It doesn't have a whole lot of starting torque.
That's why Evergo wants you to, let's turn it to forward again and see if we can get it to go. That's why Evergo wants you to start it on high. Yeah, that reverse switch is, it's a brand new one, so it probably just needs to be exercised a little bit. Could also be that the, that could also be the capacitor. If the capacitor is failing, then that would give it a a lot less starting torque than it should have. I like the low speed though. Those of you who watch my videos know I like a nice aesthetic low speed, and that this is. I have kind of a love-hate relationship. Oh wait, forgot to look at the current draw. So we're at 0.86. That's pretty high for it being a low speed. And well, deducting the 0.12, that would be 0.74. That's pretty high for a low speed. Let's go to medium. I was saying I have a love-hate relationship with Emperor fans. I think they're ugly, but I also think they're unique and very definitively vintage 70s, 80s ceiling fan. Lower on medium. You know, I had an SMC Laguna that drew more current on low than it did on medium. I never took it apart to see why it was wired that way. Could be indicative of something else being wrong. That could also be the capacitor failing or something else. It could be wired wrong, although I doubt it. All the wiring looked original. And the reverse switch, I was just 3 wires in and out. So we'll look into that more tonight, I guess. 0.76. So deducting the 0.12, that'd be 0.64. It's interesting, it draws less on medium. I think this is probably, what do you think, Andy? I think this is probably the most unique looking of all the different Emperor designs, with the blade tips being weird, the bottom of the motor housing being ribbed, the narrow switch housing. I think it's the most unique of the different Emperors. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. You went up to 0.79, so you're still actually less than low.
Yeah. Well, with the deducting from the light, that would be
0.67.
Yeah.
I would expect this fan like this to draw about 1 amp on high.
That's what I would expect. Then again, it's a cast iron spinner motor that is very similar to their Evergo and Union. Well, I guess those draw around 0.9 amps. I was thinking of later gold lines that are at 0.6 and 0.7. The Union and Evergo labeled ones are around 0.9 amps. So yeah, it should definitely be more. I'm thinking the capacitor is failing, but we'll find out later on. The other Emperor that's really unique is the very early Moss ones that have the incredibly narrow cane. Have you seen those? I've got one in a box somewhere around here. They just got a tiny strip of cane that's like less than 1/4 of the blade width. Okay, you want to hit that power strip and we'll spin it down? There was a label on this fan on top of the motor, but you could tell it came off years ago. It wasn't dated. I have a friend who has one of these with the variable speed knob that's dated 82. I don't know what I would assume the 3-speed knob would have come after the variable speed knob, but I've been wrong before and I've been surprised before. Trying to do some of your fancy camera work where I go in close and then work my way back.
Excellent.
I'm sure it looks very amateurish compared to...
Yeah, once you get the hang of it, yeah, it's nice to have. Yeah, I like the high angle too.
And my goal is to make my viewers dizzy.
Sometimes I like to follow one of the blades as it's getting close to spinning down. I think you're almost there.
Yep. Well, hopefully we'll have time to dig into it later and figure out if anything's actually wrong with it, and if so, then do another video. Again, it's going in the museum, so it may or may not be hooked up. I don't think, in fact, I know we're not going to apply power to all the fans hanging in the museum. The question is, are some getting power or none at all? That hasn't been determined yet. So it's not imperative that it work perfectly, because if it doesn't, then it just will make that decision for us, and it won't be one that gets power. But that kind of goes against my personal code of whatever. I want everything to work perfectly, even if it's not getting hooked up. So, we'll see what happens later tonight, and I thank you for watching.